When Ratatouille was released by Pixar Studios in 2007, they gave audiences yet another one of the greats in the animated film genre. While they had already had great success with emotionally resonant films such as Toy Story and The Incredibles, Ratatouille stands out among them because of its central message: anyone can cook. This message, as stated plainly by the title of fictional world-renowned chef Auguste Gusteau's popular cookbook, is the kind of thing that belongs on a motivational office poster. This simple belief is the inspirational force that drives the film. We all want to believe that we can achieve our dreams, but what makes Gusteau's philosophy truly resonate is the story that follows. Ratatouille is the story of a hero's journey, or rather, an artist's journey. This is Remy, a rat with dreams of becoming a great chef. This dichotomy, a rat, an animal associated with filth and disease, and a chef, one who prepares food, usually in a very precise and meticulous manner, is the central conflict of the film. By all accounts, Remy shouldn't be allowed in the kitchen, right? I mean, how would you feel about letting this cook for you? Not only are we humans quick to judge Remy, we see even his own family doesn't understand him. While this is often a cliche in this kind of story, I think it works well here. Remy's brother Emile offers him half-hearted support, while his father is much more aggressive about his difference in ideology. Throughout the story, Remy butts heads with the two, but it always feels like it comes from a place of genuine concern, rather than malice. Still, Remy is undoubtedly an outsider, only truly getting to be himself when breaking away from his poison checker job to try cooking a dish. It's here that we see the true beginnings of Remy's talent, but also his passion. Great art can only be achieved with passion, and Patton Oswalt's performance, paired with the character's animation, shines in scenes like this. In contrast, this is how Remy's dad feels about food. This ideological division becomes an actual physical separation after a series of unfortunate events turns Remy's cooking session into an impromptu evacuation. While initially upsetting, I mean, who wouldn't be upset after losing their family and home to this? Once Remy picks himself up and explores his surroundings, he realizes that he just stumbled into the greatest opportunity of his life. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to mention another key element of Ratatouille, the film's score, composed by Michael Giacchino. Throughout this sequence, the music swells and flourishes in tandem with Remy's movements, creating a feeling that we, the audience, are rats on the streets of Paris. We're being pushed by the music alongside Remy, sharing in his experience until finally the music crescendos into a beautiful rooftop reveal. Music is incredibly important to most films, and Ratatouille is no exception. Giacchino and his orchestra brilliantly capture every moment they're utilized in, giving this extraordinary story emotional verisimilitude. This moment especially encapsulates wonder and awe, further accented by the score as Remy soaks in a location he had previously only dreamed of. Not only has he arrived in Paris, but he has miraculously turned up right outside of Gusteau's restaurant. As I take in this scene, I can't help but feel inspired, the same way the computer-generated rat on screen does. By following Remy alongside the music, we as an audience can more effectively see through his eyes vicariously. Oftentimes, we hear that artists made it to where they are today based on one big break, a single key event that set in motion everything else to come in their career. While they may seem like fate in retrospect, these moments are often preceded by high levels of uncertainty and anxiety. The stereotype of the starving artist illustrates a culture of creativity that goes unappreciated and discarded. Remy is at even greater risk with his artistic endeavors, as not only does he need to prove himself creatively, but he must also do so in secret, as cooking actively puts his life in danger. And yet, Remy is so impassioned that he doesn't care about the risks, and when given the chance to, after stumbling into Gusteau's restaurant, he fixes a fatal mistake that the plongeur made to the soup, forever changing the culinary world. Remy is determined to prove his mentor right in this moment. Anyone can cook, even a rat. Immediately following his hypnotic display of culinary prowess, we see what it's like for a rat in the kitchen, chef or no. He's villainized and rejected before going any further, but his talents are recognized by the soup's destroyer, Linguini. This chance encounter is what most of us hope for. The person, place, or thing that can facilitate our dreams turning into reality. This is another important piece of the puzzle when dissecting the idea that anyone can cook. We all have our own talents, unique strengths, and abilities that allow us to stand out from others, but we also all receive help in some way. Linguini starts from a place of complete cluelessness, receiving a job at Gusteau's as his mother's dying wish, but not having the skills deserving of that kitchen. However, what he lacks in confidence he makes up for in tenacity, viewing Remy as an opportunity for a mentor and not as a pest to dispose of. In many ways, Linguini is the true test of the film's thesis, not our rodent culinary goop. If Linguini can cook, you can too. On the contrary, Remy sees this newfound connection as his way into where he wants to be the most. An avatar to prove to his family, the humans, and to himself that he is in fact a great chef. As evidenced by the training montage in which they discover their rhythm together, they prove to be a formidable duo in the kitchen when their efforts are combined. Rather than accept a social stigma in Remy's case, or a less than novice ability in Linguini's, both are still determined to prove that they can get the job done. They just need each other to do it. Well, they might also need... All art is born from inspiration. Whether it be a book, a painting, or a high-class meal, we pull from the things we associate with emotional memories to create new experiences. In this way, if anyone can cook, anyone needs inspiration. Remy primarily gets his from the food itself. As we see when he does his best to ingratiate a meal into his tasting ritual, Remy's constantly evolving palate is what drives him to take culinary risks and innovate new art. Linguini, on the other hand, is a romantic, driven by the emotional connection he finds with his other mentor, human chef Colette. Colette is a brash and determined young chef whose skills are immediately apparent after a training montage that parallels Remy and Linguini practicing back home. She has the leadership and confidence that Linguini is in short supply of, as well as the experience that Remy lacks. In this way, she introduces a new source of tension into the film, simultaneously driving Linguini forward while representing a new dimension for our furry culinary protege when ego is brought into the mix. In a sequence in which Colette and Linguini are cooking together, she believes herself to be the leader in the situation, as he follows the recipe, and by extension, her instructions, to a T. However, at the last moment, Remy uses his control over Linguini to alter the recipe and assert his dominance in the kitchen. Here we see a harsher and more competitive side of Remy, showing that not only does he want to be a great chef, but he wants to be the greatest chef in the kitchen. This is why I would argue that Colette is in fact a muse to both Linguini and Remy. Her passion, tenacity, and respect for tradition is what brought her to where she is now, and while her style may not be as flashy as Remy's, her impressive skill set undoubtedly inspires him to push forward and establish his own. As their relationship develops more, she becomes the driving force for Linguini's culinary efforts, instilling in him the fiery passion that both Remy and her already have for the art. And now that Remy has a chef of equal talent to directly compete with, his skills can only improve. Now that Linguini has been given the tools to succeed, one of the best kitchens in Paris, and two talented mentors, it's up to him to prove himself. Perhaps the most major subplot in the film is Chef Skinner's attempts to find out who Linguini truly is and how he has the skills that he has. This leads to a pursuit of Linguini's DNA, followed by the revelation that he is in fact the long-lost son of renowned chef Gusteau. Once again, Ratatouille touches on a familiar trope of success: nepotism. Many artists have had their position challenged or undermined by accusations of nepotism, sometimes justified, but others unjustly as well. Nepotism definitely plays a role in many industries, but what makes a talented artist is the unique creativity and voice they bring to a project. This remains true regardless of family ties. Your name can only get you so far, and eventually everyone's true level of skill will be put on display. In other words, Renata's and later Gusteau's names open the door, but without talent, it's nothing more than an opportunity. Gusteau's is a high-class restaurant, even after the critical blow of their namesake's passing, and cooking there is a privilege. Even as a janitor, it's undeniable that given his awkward demeanor and clumsy movements in the kitchen, Linguini wouldn't have lasted long, if hired at all. However, He's able to move up only after meeting and learning from both Colette and Remy. In this way, Linguini's rise in the culinary world is based on merit, even if it be mainly that of his secret tiny chef that tells him what to do, not his own, and even if it was his name that got him through the door in the first place. Had he never met and trained with his newfound friends, he'd surely still be scrubbing floors and taking out the garbage. Things have changed quickly, and with Skinner, the rest of the cooks in the kitchen, and the hungry public want to know is, can Linguini truly cook, or is his success up to this point some kind of fluke? You could argue being his father's son is actually a hindrance in this case, because the expectations of the Gusto name are massive. After all, if it was his father that said anyone can cook, he should be able to, and then some. With Remy and Colette by his side, Linguini's story becomes that of a wonderkind, skyrocketing through the ranks, eventually resulting in Skinner being outed from the restaurant and himself becoming the de facto head chef. With all eyes on him, it's time to put his father's motto to the ultimate test. Eventually, word of Linguini's impact on the culinary world reaches Anton Ego, the subtly named critic from the opening. Ego is determined to prove his stance as definitive. Not anyone can cook, and Linguini is the evidence. He challenges Linguini and the rest of Gusto's to the dinner service of a lifetime, an opportunity to prove themselves to the ultimate tastemaker, himself. In this moment, he holds the power to make or break Gusto's, forever damaging the careers of our heroes and the very beliefs they hold at their foundation. With pressure mounting, conflict arises between Linguini and Remy, leading to a fracture in both their relationship and individual confidence. While they both feel passionate about leading the restaurant through its most important service in years, Remy is once again faced with the cold reality of his situation. He's a rat, and kitchen access can be revoked at any time. When tensions run high, Linguini throws Remy out of the kitchen Ramsay style.
Get out! Out! Leave the stove!
Was Remy's father correct? In the darkest sequence of the film, it's plainly illustrated to our hero that continued pursuit of his dream is tempting fate into shortening his lifespan. His father is of the belief that their two species will never coexist, and thus Remy will never be accepted as the rat he wants to be. But even when faced with literal corpses, our rodent hero refuses to believe his chances are zero.
Change is nature, Dad. The part that we can influence.
And if there's a non-zero chance, Remy will seek out the next cooking opportunity. He's just that determined, because he knows that despite something as seemingly insurmountable as human-rat differences, he feels the need to cook in his very soul. It's going to happen, and that's all there is to it. Cultural barriers be damned. This is why a literal cage can't stop him after being temporarily captured after his fight with Linguini. Well, that and his family. His triumphant return to the restaurant is also when the film takes its biggest leaps in terms of verisimilitude, but I believe this reinforces the infectious nature of determination. Basically, the movie has earned the concept of hundreds of rats executing a high-class dinner service in my estimation, because with enough passion and a willingness to learn, they too can cook, if only for an evening. But can they really? Anton Ego will be the judge of that. He arrives in arrogant fashion, serving as the absolute antithesis to Gusteau's philosophy, joyfully teasing the waiter that desperately seeks out his order. His self-importance immediately dominates the sequence, somehow making impressing his character an even more difficult challenge. Upon Remy's return and the resolution of their differences as ego-driven chefs, Linguini knows that in order to save the service and prove his father true, that he must take a back seat this time. This is Remy's time to shine as a leader and a true master chef. After getting service on track and satisfying the dinner rush, he finally comes face to face with serving Ego himself. Luckily, Remy has gained plenty of perspective throughout the course of this story and knows just what to make. One final cooking montage later, and we've arrived at the pivotal moment, Anton's reaction. This is the most crucial sequence in the entire film, as it illustrates perfectly why I wholeheartedly believe in the film's central message. When Anton takes his first bite, he is instantaneously transported back to his childhood, to a time before he had accumulated any kind of status or boredom with the culinary arts. We see that this meal is akin to the warmth of his mother's embrace, as he fondly recalls how she would serve it to him after a long day as a young boy. If the job of an artist is to evoke an emotional response from their audience, Remy has executed his craft to perfection. By stripping away the pomp and circumstance of the fine dining world and taking things back to basics, he has created something that has caused a visceral response in even the most cold-hearted of characters. Anton and Remy share a connection, as they both relate food with feelings of peace and comfort, even if Anton seemingly hasn't had that experience in quite some time. In fact, he's so moved by the dish that he requests to compliment the chef, resulting in Remy's outing and his final revelation. His review says it all.
Not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere.
Of course, not literally anybody can cook, but nobody should be discounted based on a preconceived notion or bias. The fact of the matter is that a literal rat made him a meal just like Mom used to make, a completely unfathomable scenario, and yet the results are undeniable. Ratatouille, not unlike many of its other Pixar siblings, covers material and themes that are accessible to children but become more effective with life experience. Rewatching the film has reminded me not only why it's my favorite Pixar release to date, but why its message is so effective in the first place. Cousteau's belief in the idea that anyone can cook is an essential line of thinking for the individual as well as the field as a whole. Believing otherwise is what resulted in the stagnation that has clearly weighed on ego for so long. If we all believed that we could only be in whatever box we're put into in our youth, then we wouldn't have any of the great works of creativity we already have, let alone exciting new inspirations. The story of Chef Remy the Rat serves as a statement that it is possible to break the mold, to make that one special dish that can melt ego's heart, because with just the right recipe of passion, luck, support, determination, and love of the craft, anyone can cook.
Good food is like music you can taste, color you can smell. There is excellence all around you. You need only be aware to stop and savor it.
Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, you specifically. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give a like, comment, or subscribe to see more.